Welcome to a new edition of the Neon Jazz interview series with Toronto-based jazz and blues vocalist Linda Carone. She talked to the show about her new 2023 CD called Lemon Twist. This new project is supported by a stellar group of musicians and is raring to go. Established as a jazz and blues vocalist and niche song stylist, this brand new recording is loaded with cool and chill vibes and some spicy sounds. She is a song stylist and interpreter of popular music from the 20s and beyond, with a voice that has been described as beautiful, rich, and pure. Linda sings with a pure vocal style all her own. She's got a great story. Enjoy this interview.
Thank you for taking a minute out for Neon Jazz today. I appreciate it.
Yeah, no problem.
So before we get into your brand new album, I think that's the beauty of what we're going through right now is that, the musician world, artists, everyone, but especially the musician world really was upended by COVID. And I'm curious how you survived that approximate 2-year period and how you changed the way that you approach your music and the business of it now.
Well, COVID. I mean, I was just adapting, I guess, like everybody else. And in between watching the news, and having gigs canceled, of course, I kind of concentrated on, researching, listening to more music. I ended up doing a couple of collaborations, video collaborations online. I know there was a lot of streaming going on, but I thought since I did my my debut album, I got into creating videos and learning that myself, actually. I thought that would be a good way to express, some of the repertoire that I do with video and collaborate with musicians. It also gave me an opportunity to sit down and write out a plan, basically for the album. Because just before COVID, I had released So Many Beautiful Men, So Little Time, which is I put on this album. Well, how I change things now, I don't really know how things have changed, other than developing more of this repertoire, learning more songs. Some of them I put on the album. Like, I had a good idea of what I wanted on there. And I got to sit down and really sort of think about how I was going to put it together. I applied for a grant, and that's really the reason why I was able to do this album. I got the guys together that I worked with on the song, and then we went back to the studio and we worked on this album. And of course, I knew I had I had a good idea of the guys that I wanted in there. And other than that, I just kind of coping and adapting with the COVID. It didn't really change that much for me because I had been spending a lot of time on the computer, writing grants or listening to music or making videos and doing graphics. And so
yeah.
I got to get out more often. Yeah.
No, it's all good. So I'm curious with this album, how does it feel? Does it feel cathartic? Does it feel like a phoenix rising? I mean, this has to be a really good introduction back into the world of live music.
Yeah, for sure. I mean, I'll be looking forward to the launch, where I'll get to play with the guys, right? And that'll be fun.
Let me kind of go back to how all this began for you. Talk to me a little bit about where you were born and raised and how these seeds of jazz have become who you are today.
Well, I'm from Toronto, born in Toronto. I came into the music kind of later on in my life for singing, not for everything else, because I had a passion for music very early on, and I have many influences. I went through the disco and the funk and the punk, the hardcore punk, and rock bands, and growing up with classic rock. I mean, I feel like I've got all this great music, right? And also growing up with the television, like hearing those old programs like the Carol Burnett's and there was always music, and I think that kind of seeped through, and the old movies as well, right? So, because a lot of what I've brought into my repertoire is from some of those old movies, and I guess it was working in there somehow. So, and then eventually I Actually, it was my first roommate who used to listen to. She used to listen to Billie Holiday. Well, we were into the punk rock thing, but she used to listen to Billie Holiday and Tom Waits. And Billie Holiday kind of sparked for me I don't know, it stuck with me, right? That she could express herself so well with the vocals. And even though at that time I wasn't singing and I wasn't even thinking that I would be ever able to get in front of people to sing, I hadn't really discovered my voice. So it took a long time for me to research and listen to music. Even though I was listening to all kinds of music, the jazz was there. I was picking that up slowly with the blues and getting to the roots of the blues women that were not as well known. You know, there was, of course, the jazz divas, but there was all these other great singers and great songs, and that's what I really connected to, was those songs. And when I started, playing around and then singing, I was finding that, I guess that's how I was finding my voice, and it was just, so it took a while, though, to actually get out there and sing in front of people.
One of the early impressions that any of us have is like one of the first shows that you see live. What was that show for you that made you think initially that you would love to be a singer or be a performer?
Ooh, I don't know. Wow. Yeah, I don't know. I mean, I saw a lot of shows, and I wouldn't say any of the punk shows or any of those.
Well, what show stands out? Who was somebody that you saw that you always remember this day that was dynamic?
Wow. I'm thinking closer into the 90s or the early 90s of, Portishead.
Yeah, absolutely.
I think because it was jazzy and she had a unique voice, but it was in a different sort of, it wasn't your classic jazz type of thing. So trying to think of more like contemporary artists that would have inspired, maybe Annie Lennox, although that was sort of earlier on, but...
So what is it that you like the best about this process of being a professional musician? What do you look forward to every day? I
don't know. Am I a professional musician? I work with professional musicians,
yeah,
which is great. Yeah. I always, I still always say that I'm still like learning, even though people tell me, oh, you look so comfortable and at ease. And initially, it took, I think because it took so long to get that courage to do it. And now I found myself working with some of the best musicians here in Toronto. And sometimes it can be intimidating. But, the more professional, the nicer they are, I find. And, you're not dealing with the egos and that sort of thing. It's always just a great experience, right? And I learn as I go along and still. So it's a learning process. That's what I think.
So what do you learn from those kind of veteran esteemed players? What do they teach you, and how does that translate into how you approach music?
Well, I think for me, they're constantly listening, and there's that with jazz. There's this room there's space, and so many of the songs that I bring in, they're very straightforward with the verses and everything like that. So I don't really delve into I don't know, what do you want to call it? I'm not a scatter. I don't go free form type of thing, whereas musicians can do anything. So I enjoy listening to them, when we're getting into the solos and they're listening to each other. So it's pushing me more to listen and to use that space, because I don't have to be exactly in a certain space. I don't know if that makes any sense, but... Yeah. Yeah.
It certainly does, yeah.
Okay,
yeah.
Good.
So everyone out there has a perception of you, your family, your friends, your fans, but ultimately you live your life. What's your perception of you? Who do you think you are?
I need to express myself creatively, so whatever that may be. Visually, that's my background. I went to graphic design school because that's what I knew how to do. And so from there, the music, I think, was just banging away at me because it was always in there. I just didn't know how to get there, but I did eventually. So, I used to make little visualization or mind maps and just to kind of focus on like the music, the songs. I'm constantly learning and wanting to express myself creatively, whatever that may be. If other people enjoy it along the way, that's great. I find that I do whatever I want with the music, with the songs. Like, I'm not doing it to please anyone necessarily. Like, that's why I'm not doing your typical jazz standards. I delve off into the little bit, lesser known songs because that's what I like. That's what suits me. And, and there have been people who also love that. And that's great. It's not going to be for everyone. So, and I don't expect it to. And you can't expect your friends and your family to go along with necessarily, like what you do, but some of them will be there to support you in any case. But.
So talk to me about Lemon Twist, when people can buy it, stream it, and any live shows, anything pertaining to your world, where can they go?
Right. Well, the official launch is January 20th, so it'll be on all the streaming, Spotify, and that sort of thing, and Bandcamp as well. And the CDs you can purchase from me directly, which on my website, lindacarone.com. I will also have them on Bandcamp once it's released. And then our launch party is just going to be right after that on the 24th at a place here called Reed's Distillery in Toronto. Yeah, where they make gin. And I thought that would be a perfect place to have my my launch. Lemon Twist. Makes sense, right?
Absolutely.
Goes with a gin cocktail.
Are you kidding? Yeah.
Yeah.
Is that. Yeah. So, Linda, hey, thank you for opening up. Thank you for taking some time out. Good luck with the release and this brand new year that we have.
Great. Thanks so much for talking with me.
Thanks for listening and tuning in to another Neon Jazz interview, where we give you a bit of insight into the finest singers in Toronto, Kansas City, and spots all over the world, giving fans all that jazz. Thanks to Linda for her time, music, and story. If you want to hear more interviews, go to Famous Interviews with Joe Domino on the iTunes Store or Spotify. Visit neonjazz at youtube.com, and for everything Neon Jazz all the time, go to the neonjazz.blogspot.com. Until next time, enjoy the jazz, my friends.
Aged and mellow.
Neon Jazz.